Ben Carson was asked about his tax policy by Chris Wallace and specifically how it hurts the poor. Take a look.
One of the pillars of your economic program is a flat tax. How would that work?
Well, I like the idea of a proportional tax. That way you pay according to your ability. And I got that idea, quite frankly, from the Bible, tithing. You make $10 billion a year, you pay $1 billion. You make $10 a year, you pay $1 billion. You get the same rights. That's pretty darn fair if you ask me. Now, some people say it's not fair because, you know, the poor people can't afford to pay that dollar. That's very condescending. You know, I grew up very poor. I've experienced every economic level. And I can tell you that poor people have pride too. And they don't want to be just taken care of. And also, if everybody is paying, it makes it very difficult for these politicians to come along and raise taxes. It's easy to raise it on 1% or 2% or 5%. It's very difficult to raise it on 100%.
But, Doctor, here is the problem with a flat tax in the real world. According to the Tax Policy Center, to raise the same amount of revenue we do now, the tax rate would have to be in the low to mid 20% range.
Wrong.
Low and middle income families would get a big tax hike, while wealthy families would actually get a big tax cut.
That's actually not, I don't agree with that assessment. Let me put it that way.
He's like, okay, so here we have a study from economists and experts, and it says X. I disagree. Oh, really? Do you? Well, let me ask you a question, Ben. Is that how it works when you do brain surgery, too? When you're sitting and listening to your professor, and your professor's like, you know, according to experts, the proper way to do this kind of surgery is you make the incision at this point right here. Professor, I disagree. It doesn't fucking matter if you disagree. They're the guys with the data. They're the guys who did the studies. And he goes on to say, well, I have my own experts. Really? Name them. Bupkis. He can't name them. Meanwhile, Chris Wallace is like, okay, Tax Policy Center. They did a study. They found this. I disagree. It doesn't matter if you disagree, dude. It's irrelevant. And look, the criticisms they made are absolutely true. In that study, they said you need a higher rate than you think, and this actually disproportionately hurts the poor. Think about it. If, let's say the number, just to be kind to Ben Carson here, even though the percentage would be in the 20-some-odd percentile range, let's say it was 12%. He gets a 12% flat tax rate. Taking 12% of the money of somebody who earns $30,000 a year, that fucking hurts. You know, they might not be able to afford housing or food or to pay the fucking light bill. There's a lot of, that's, you know, you can't, it's hard to raise a family on that money, especially if the government takes 12% of that. But 12% of somebody who makes $8 million a year is nothing. You won't even fucking realize it's gone. It'll show up in your statement, but you won't feel it. You could have the exact same kind of lifestyle. So, yeah, it does suck for the poor if you do that. And I love the argument he made where he said, well, the reason I like the flat tax is because it makes it difficult to raise taxes on 100% of people. But no. But Ben, the flat tax in and of itself is you raising taxes on the poor and the middle class. So essentially what you're saying is, I'm so concerned about raising taxes on the American people that I will first raise taxes on the American people, and then I will be concerned about it after I raise taxes on them. But you're the problem. You're the problem. You're the one that wants to raise it on the middle class and the poor. And this goes back to something we talk about all the time on this show. The Republicans aren't the party of tax cuts. They're not. The Republicans, when they talk about tax cuts, they're talking for either 1% of the population, depending on which Republican you refer to. Either 1% of them, 5% of them, at most 10% of them. The Democrats cut taxes more for 90% of the American people. He's telling you right there, I want whatever the flat's at, 10% flat tax rate or a little higher than that or whatever. Okay, so if you make, you know, whatever the number is, 50,000 or less, you are getting a tax hike. So he's increasing taxes for a majority of the American people as he claims, I'm the guy that's going to cut your taxes. But you just told us you're going to increase the taxes. No, the flat tax is a horrible idea. It totally hurts the poor and the middle class in a disproportionate way. And Chris Wallace even goes on to say in that segment, under this system, the rich get away like bandits. Again, when you get to a place where you're even making a Fox News host say you want the rich to get away like bandits, you know that policy is beyond stupid.